Yes, that was a very statesmanlike thing to say. However, again, my study of other countries suggests that is not what people want to hear. There was a politician in the Philippines in the 30s who pointed out that if the Filipinos were angry at the Chinese, who were dominant throughout the economy, even though they were a minority, and wanted to take over their positions, they would have to work the way the Chinese work. As hard as they work, save as hard, live as frugally, etc., etc. A storm of indignation fell upon this poor man, and no one else wanted to be in his position again. From there on out, people referred to the dominance of the Chinese as showing exploitation, because that really is much easier to deal with politically. So the political incentives are really towards saying what people want to hear. And even if you're not an office seeker, if you want to reach a particular audience, you try to reach them with things that they will listen to rather than things they won't listen to. And it's very tough. It's a much longer process to get people to hear the other kind of message.
George Gilder points to the study recently released by whatever foundation it was, showing this dramatic rise in single-parent black families, and also their failure during the past 10 years to keep pace with white families, and on the contrary, how black families with two parents have done so well. In other words, the Sowell thesis, but he blames welfare for this. Do you blame welfare so much for that? How does welfare cause a black father to desert his family?
Well, part of it is desertion, but part of it is that the family never existed in the first place. When you're talking about teenage girls who get pregnant and never had a man in the house, well, not living, there's not even a question of desertion.
Well, but when the figures rise as dramatically as they have done by 15 percentage points, what is it that's happening now that wasn't happening then? Just plain more sex, more teenage sex?
Yes, and that's happening, I think, in the society at large, part of the general degeneration of standards in American society.
What would a corollary of your proposition that the more we engage in affirmative action, the less we succeed, be that the more we teach sex education, the less we learn?
Oh, absolutely. That what is amazing to me is how many propositions there are that are sacred without a speck of evidence and in utter defiance of all evidence. That sex education was promoted on the grounds that this will reduce illegitimacy, teenage pregnancy, which I think is more important than the legal status of the children, and it would also reduce venereal disease. And of course, it was instituted, and teenage pregnancy and venereal disease have shot up through the roof. I have seen practically no one say, let us reconsider this. We have become wedded to certain non-empirical propositions that no matter what happens, these doctrines are so, and they're not to be questioned.
So that if we don't succeed with affirmative action, we need more affirmative action.
I was told that this very morning. I pointed, it reminded me of the alcoholic who wakes up with a hangover and figures he has to have a drink to get over this. Yes, there's a tremendous range of these things, not only in the racial area, but throughout the whole social thinking today.
Patrick Moynihan publishes the Moynihan Report in 1965.
Yes.
And he's alarmed because the illegitimacy rate among black families is 25% then. Now, among whites, it's over a third.
Yes.
Hispanics, it's over half. And among African Americans, it's over 70%. What's going on there?
Well, this is again, this too, you find the same thing in Britain, you find it in France and Norway, you find it in the Western world. In fact,
the dissolution of the family structure.
Oh yeah, there are any number of Western nations where 40% of the children are raised with only one parent.
Right.
At the extremes, compared to Asian countries, at the extremes, Iceland, it's 2 out of 3 children are raised in a single-parent home. In South Korea, it's 1 out of 66.
Wow. Wow. And so, that's the welfare state?
Yes,
it is.
Oh, you're paying. You're creating a situation where if the first of all, you're creating a situation where if the man stays there, the government will not give the woman welfare, and if he leaves, they will. And so they're paying. When you pay people not to get married, more people don't get married.
Right. Okay. So what would have happened if Lyndon Johnson, instead of becoming a liberal, had remained a crusty, tough, skeptical Texas conservative,
Yes.
which is certainly the way he started his career, if Lyndon Johnson had embraced the constrained vision instead of instituting the war on poverty and the Great Society and so forth, what would the country look like today?
A lot better. You would not have the same rates of crime and so on. Because, you see, you can't have a welfare state in a democratic country unless you first have a welfare state vision. And when you buy all the assumptions of that vision, then you're buying a lot of trouble. One of the episodes I think epitomized it was in France in this case. That there were knife attacks by various people from North Africa against Chinese people in some suburb of Paris. And one of the things that the attackers said, that why are you attacking the Chinese? And it wasn't because of anything the Chinese had done to them. They said they have nice clothes and big cars. That's not fair. I mean, that's, egalitarianism as a philosophy is one thing, but the actual consequences of it mean things like resenting other people's good fortune.